Hello everyone. In this short video, I'll show you how to automate the process of identifying differences or reconciling between two large data sets within seconds using Excel's Power Query. Initially, it'll take a few minutes to set up the model, but after that, it's a piece of cake. The next month, or with the new data, all you would have to do is save your reconciliation as a different file name, replace the data, and refresh the queries. It'll automatically complete. The Venn diagram that you see before you represents the data we'll be working with, and during this video, we'll tie out both the counts and the amounts. Here's our goal: to find the items in Table 1 only, find the items in Common, and then the items in Table 2 only. Note that this diagram isn't necessarily to scale, and we'll be finding a lot more items in Common than is visually represented here. Now, let's jump on over to Excel and take a look at what we've got. And here's the Excel file I have the distinct pleasure of demonstrating on today. It has three tabs: a Summary tab, a Table 1 tab, and a Table 2 tab. The Summary tab is where everything is brought together, and it reconciles the amounts per Table 1 to the amounts per Table 2. Once I flip over to Table 1, you can see that it's just a table, almost 300,000 rows, and I'm counting the numbers where it's not null, and I'm summing the amount here. Really, the same thing on Table 2. It's really nothing more than if you were to put your data source on one tab, your second data source that you want to reconcile against on a second tab, turning them both into tables, making sure that those tables are named appropriately so you can tell the difference whether it's bank and general ledger or human resources subsystem, human resources ledger. You've also got to have a Summary tab where you make sense, that you pull it all together, and where your variance shows. And you can see right now, really, we've got some pretty large amounts in there, but our difference net is only 2 records and $68.25. So with that, let's get started. To load the data, navigate over to Table 1, select any cell on the table, right-click, then Get Data from Table Range. The Power Query editor appears. Looks like everything has come in just fine. You can see the steps it's done here on the right. We're going to add a column, a custom column. The name's going to be Source. And then we need to tell the reconciliation which table the data come from. So this is just going to be Table 1. And then select OK. And we've basically done the equivalent in Excel of just typing Table 1 next to a column and copying that all the way down. Next, Home, Close and Load 2. We don't need a pivot table or anything quite yet. We just want to create the connection and load this to the data model, which is where we'll be working. Select OK. And it's going to take a few seconds to load it. And you can see it in the Query and Connections pane on the right-hand side as it does its work. Once that table's complete, we'll go over to Table 2. We'll do the same thing. Right-click, Get Data from Table Range, add a column, custom column. This is also the source. And this one, as you might have guessed, is Table 2. And then OK. You can also do File, Close and Load 2 if you want. Just another way to get there. Same thing, only create the connection and add it to the data model. Select OK, and it'll take a few seconds to import it. That's it. Next, we're going to be appending the two tables or placing one on top of another. I also wanted to mention, if you're not seeing the queries and connections here on the right, go to the Data tab, and then you can turn it on and off by just selecting Queries and Connections here. So right-click on Table 1, select Reference. This just means we're going to use Table 1 in our next query. Rename the query Differences. Hit Enter. And then from Home, append the queries. And if you remember that we've already using Table 1, so we really want to append Table 2 on top of this. And you can actually see we're using Table 1 here. Select OK. I think we've done it. If you refresh this, we can see that in effect we've basically done the equivalent in Excel of copying one range or table on top of another. Select OK, and that completes that step. Next, I like to take the source column and move it over here just because it seems a little bit more logical to me. Anyway, now on the Transform tab, we're going to pivot this column. And our values is going to be the amount. Select OK. Now, in effect, we have exactly what we want. We have our number here, the amount from Table 1 here, and the amount from Table 2 here. Now, just because I've been burned before, I know that we have to do this. If you think about what we've done, if there's no matching numbers in common, then there's just going to be a null in either Table 1 or Table 2. And we can't subtract from a null, and ultimately we need to do some subtraction. So select Table 1, and then go Home, Replace Values, and let's replace the nulls with zeros. Select OK. Same thing in Table 2. Find the nulls and replace them with zeros. Did I spell that right? There we go. Now select both columns. We're going to add a column, Standard, Subtract. Now we basically have Table 1 minus Table 2 by number. Now, you can probably see where I'm going. We don't really need to load more. We just need to filter out the zeros right now. Select OK. And these are the differences by number. Now that we've filtered for the differences among the two tables, we can close and load the data back to Excel. Close and load to. This time we don't need we actually do need a table, and we need a new worksheet. Give it just a bit. There it is. So here's our table of differences. I'm going to go ahead and click total row, $68.25. That should look pretty familiar because that is the total amount of our differences on the summary tab. So I'm going to drag differences to the back because I like summary tab to be the first tab, and there's our $68.25. Now all we need to do is complete the bridge in the center to complete the reconciliation. So in this cell here, we need to add in the count that are in table 2 but not in table 1. The formula there is pretty simple. I'm going to copy it in because it takes too long to type. I'm counting the differences in table 2 where the amount is greater than 0. The formula here, I really just need to sum table 2. Open paren. We'll navigate back to the differences, wait for the down arrow, and I can pick up everything in table 2. Now, the less section is really the inverse of this one, so I can copy this down, hit enter, and then I'll just modify this one. It's going to be a subtraction, and we need to back out table 1. There we go. That ties out. Really the same thing here. We need to back out the sum of table 2 to complete the bridge. So that's it. Our reconciliation ties. There's just one more thing to do, and that is to find the amounts in common between two tables, because as you can see, there really isn't much in the way of differences here. And accountants would typically use something like this to make a journal entry to sync the systems or so on and so forth. It's just kind of an extra, if you will, to find out what the two tables have in common. Okay, back in Excel, let's find the amounts in common. For this one, I can go over here to the right, and I'm going to edit the differences query that we just created. Now, I can take the differences query and duplicate it. I'll rename it in common, no spaces, hit enter. Within Power Query, there really isn't undo, but you can undo what you've done by clicking the X in the steps over here. So I'm going to undo the previous filter. Here's the whole table again. Now for this one, let's just do a number filter where the amount equals 0. Let it work for a second. Okay, so now we have 4 queries. We have where we've taken table 1, we've loaded table 2, we've created our differences, which we've already returned to Excel and figured out the reconciliation. So now our 4th query here in the data model is in common. So I'm going to take this one, close and load 2. This one can go back to a table on a new worksheet also. The sheet's going to automatically be named in common, just like the sheet was automatically named differences when we returned that query. And something this long, I like to add a few spaces at the top. Let's do this, plus sum. I'm going to come down, highlight the whole thing, Control R, we'll copy this to the right. Let's get a little bit more space here. Do some better formatting. So that makes a lot of sense. Numbers in common are the same. Now let's count the records, and just as a kind of a safety factor, we're going to add in where the amount's greater than 0. I mean, there's no zeros there, but just something I like to do. We'll select the down arrow, comma, not equal to 0. I can just hit enter. And so we have this many records in common. we have $14,967,446.39 in common between the two tables. So this is going to let us finally close the loop and find out all three of the numbers that we were looking for at the beginning of this video. So our goal at the beginning was to complete all three sections of the Venn diagram, and we've done that using Power Query. But there's just a couple more things before I go. You'll see on the internet people are showing this same process, but they're using joins. Those are great ways to do it. It's very efficient. I show the append and pivot because I feel like it's a little bit easier to conceptualize. Also, we need to change the model, rerun it, see how long it takes, and let's see if it works. Hang on. Back in Excel, let's go over to Table 1, and then I'll just delete a few rows, actually more than a few. Let's go over to Table 2. Let's scroll down near the end just to make it a little different, and we will just delete one row. And then, why not, just for the heck of it, I'm going to add another record. This one is not going to be a duplicate. And then I'll just, I don't know, put $100 in there. We'll go back to the Summary tab, and then the way to run this is from the Data tab, click Refresh All, and you'll see the queries loading the data. I'll put a timer on this and let us know how long it takes. There we go. We are back in balance. We actually have deleted a lot of them. From Table 2, we've got the 17 minus the 4. Looks like our reconciliation works. I think that is it. Thanks a lot for watching.